Mia Jordan is industry advisor at Salesforce. Mia, it's great to see you again. Thanks for joining me. How are you seeing agencies in government effectively combining their artificial intelligence efforts with the data that they already have and the data that they're collecting to help them deliver on mission?
Yeah, well, there are a ton of questions out there. I would say some misconceptions, as we're looking to integrate AI into the government sphere. However, I'll start with one of those misconceptions is that they think they have to kind of start from scratch. And, for instance, I spent a little over a decade in government, and my perspective is that the agencies are sitting on a treasure trove of enterprise data. It's the same data right now that they're using every day to make decisions, right? On loans, grants, permits, inspections, right? And so I don't think the challenge is about having enough data, but it's the data that is often scattered across their systems, a lot of delays in how they get data to make decisions, and it's often disconnected from the work. So that's where I think Salesforce makes a huge difference. I don't know if you want to expand on that, but I certainly can. I'm excited to
Well,
talk about Agent Force.
yeah, one of the things that I think is that I keep hearing from folks that are doing the jobs now that you did when you were in government is I don't know what all I have because anytime they try to get some sense of that, obviously things change the next day because of the volume that's coming in. And the other issue is I'm struggling with how to go and get what I need from among all the stuff that's out there to be able to make the decision that I need to make. What is your sense of? I guess curation is the word for the second problem, and uh, and just inventory for the first problem. What's your sense of how AI might help organizations figure those challenges out?
So maybe this is a little known fact, right? So Salesforce is in all 22 CFO agencies in some capacity, right? Um, but I think I want to just state first and foremost that the solution that we're trying to bring to government is not about layering AI on top, right? When we're talking about Salesforce or Agent Force, we're talking about embedding AI in the flow of work. So when you talk about volume and you talk about inventory, we are, I think, changing the conversation because we have often, right, we're being used as a customer relationship management platform where we have an understanding that your customer data, your customer's metadata, right, which isn't just about um, just the customer record in general, but it tells us, for example, when the record was created, who touched the record, what system it may come from, and how it connects to everything else. So when you understand, when AI understands all of that layer of data, it's no longer just about retrieving information, right? But it's actively supporting decisions. So let me use an example just to kind of make what I just said clearer. So let's use permitting because right now there's an executive order that was recently released in April around permitting. And so if a permitting officer receives an application, right now, instead of toggling between, say, multiple systems or going to some file cabinet, this is where AI can surface similar past permits. It can summarize the history of those past permits, and it can even recommend next steps based on policy. So, what I just described to you isn't the future, it's actually happening now. And so when we're talking with customers about how to leverage the data in their vast enterprise that may be locked up, we have a really unique tool now called Data Cloud that allows you to stay in the case that you're working on. But what Data Cloud does is it reaches into those those trapped systems, right? Say it's in SharePoint or a share drive, or it may exist in some data warehouse, right, where your policies may live. Data Cloud is able to reach into those repositories and surface that data in the context of the case. And so AI obviously needs really clear intent and clean data, but we're not asking government agencies or government workers to go and find the AI. We're putting AI to work for them right inside the context of the case. Does that help with that question?
Yeah, that makes sense. And we have about a minute left, Mia. It strikes me that generative AI is something that organizations across government are trying to figure out. One of the discussions is, should we build or create or buy a tool specifically for our agency to use, or should we use something that already exists? I want to put you back in your CIO chair for a moment
Yeah.
and ask you how you would evaluate either what data you could use a commercial tool for and what data you would only want to use a proprietary tool for, or how you would decide proprietary versus commercial in a generative AI environment, that kind of thought process.
So I have an opinion, obviously, on this in terms of the way in which work gets done is where you want to use the AI. So I am not a proponent of this DIY your AI. I think it's really important that we understand how we do our business. And so AI operating inside the ecosystem, it respects the roles, it respects your metadata, it respects your compliance framework, including FedRAMP High. And I do think that that is a differentiator that every CIO, chief data officer, chief AI officer should really be considering and putting at the very top of the list in terms of criteria that they are assessing technology on. And so to me, that's how you deploy Gen AI responsibly. You have to make sure that it's designed with context, compliance, and control. And so therefore, I think leveraging systems where the work actually happens is paramount.
Yeah, it's always wonderful to connect with you. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.